Hello, I'm Penny Swearingen, 3L&S Farms and Romney Sheep in South Central Michigan. And I'm welcoming all of you who are interested in learning a little bit more from the Michigan sheep and wool producers about some of the wool breeds out there and what we hear owners and breeders of wool sheep, Romney's a long wool breed, how we approach our operation and how we approach marketing of our wool. I'm just going to take you through a few things. I'm going to introduce you to my farm. I'm going to introduce you to my sheep and some of the other characters around. And you will have to excuse the shadow. I decided to sit in one spot instead of walking around the farm and causing you guys dizziness because I can't hold a video steady. 3L&S Farms originated when my three daughters and my son started helping me with the sheep operation, and mostly with the Romneys. I have been raising sheep since 1981, and I bought my first Romneys in 1988, but I started spinning and knitting with their wool in 1985 when I saw some spectacular fleeces at the North American International Livestock Expo. Now, these are my Romney sheep. If you're not familiar with the breed, they are a long wool breed that originated in the Kent area of England, what they call the Romney Marsh area, hence their name. They're a very durable breed. They have very durable feet when it comes to marshy, wet ground, and they're a dual purpose breed, and that has played out as there were and may still be one of the top terminal sires of sheep in New Zealand. Very heavily populated with Romneys in New Zealand because of the lamb market they have, but they also do market the sheep, the fleeces. In the United States, the Romneys have been in the States since the beginning of the 1900s. The American Romney Breeder Sheep Association originated and was founded in 1912. So the Romney breed has been around a while. Here in the Midwest, a lot of people are not familiar with the Romneys. They're very populous in Oregon and Washington, and on the East Coast as well. We're fortunate here in Michigan, we have a fair number of very good Romney breeders, and so you'll see more in Michigan than you will see in the balance of the Midwest. But the Romneys are a long wool breed. The Romneys, you can register both whites and natural colors. They come in a variety of colors, everything from a chocolate, which you're seeing in front of you, to an iron gray, which almost blue color, which is you walk up behind her, and then silvers. The number of silver ewes right here. These two ewes here are varying different shades of silver. One has got a little bit more of an iron silver, and the other one has a really light silver. Then you have the whites. In my flock, I have essentially three flocks. I have the clean white pedigree ewes, which I keep separate, I breed separate, I maintain the pedigree separate. Then I have the natural color ewes, and then I have what we call the white sheep black factored, and their pedigree is kept separate with the black factor. I run about, I'll be lambing out 34 mature natural color and black factored ewes, and I'll be lambing out 11 or 12 clean white pedigree ewes. And then this year I'm down in numbers in terms of the number of sheep I'm raising out in terms of replacement ewe lambs. The Romneys excel at pasture management operations. That you will see them very heavily in pasture managed situations on the West Coast, and even in some of the New England states. Here I run both my ewes. As soon as I wean them and get them dried off, they go in pasture, and they won't see a dry ladder barn unless there's something going on, like I decided to show them or something silly like that. But they'll stay out on pasture. I rotational graze here. I try to mob graze and increase the carrying capacity of my pastures. by intensive grazing. This year a little tough because of the dry conditions. I will lamb my ewes out starting middle to end of January. Romneys, two things about Romneys: one, you have to shear them, and two, they do not naturally breed out of season. So if you want fall lambs, you need to synchronize them. I have done that a couple of times successfully, but you do have to synchronize them and use artificial methods. You're looking up towards the home place, the lambing barn. The jingle in the background is my working border collies. I and my children have been solo with running the sheep operation for almost 40 years. And so working border collies are extremely important as I rotating and moving sheep through pastures, if not every day, every other day. That's backside of my machine shed, which is a third of that is packed full of wool. Romneys will shear, they will shear between 8 to 18 pounds of wool in 1 year's clipping. Their fleeces, they are a long wool braid. Their fleeces will be 5 to 6.5 inches long. So they are heavy shearing, produce a lot of wool, and that has moved me into various different realms with my fleeces because they are heavy shearing. So I get a lot of fleeces off of them. You will see that I have my Great Pyrenees Metro. He's out hanging out with the U-band. I have one really good working Great Pyrenees. The other one defies fences, so she has to be confined to quarters. And then we see my hay barn, my stud ram barn, and my horse barn up there. I have 17 acres here in south central Michigan. I am 30 miles north of the Indiana-Ohio-Michigan border. And as I said, I try to optimize my 17 acres that I have here rotational. A little tough this year because of the drought. As everybody knows, we didn't see much pasture growth. But then it sprung up, causing its own little problems. We do have some nice habitat here on the place. I have cranes that raise their kids. The chicks. We do have a deer population, and a few people, my husband in particular, it's keeping an eye out what bucks are coming through. And then we have a varied assortment of birds and other small creatures. We do have a few coyotes. They don't give me a lot of problem at this point in time, but I've had Pyrenees on this place now for 10 years. And as I've expanded to the backside of the pasture, I've expanded the territory of my Great Pyrenees. I use electronetting heavy duty to rotate. I have found that it does manage and keep my Romneys in, even though they have long wool. Any other sort of hot wire fencing situation is irrelevant with less long a fleece during breeding season. The rams ignore it. They do pay attention to electronetting. I do keep it hot. Even in full fleece, these ewes respect it pretty heavy duty. I have a three solar hot wire fencing units that one is permanent that I run my lines on, and the other two rotate with the sheep. But this is my band of natural colors and black white factory ewes. Like I said, there's 34 in this group. This ewe here, I just sheared most of my yearlings and coming ewe lambs, coming yearlings, so that I can kick them out onto pasture come December, and I won't have to keep them up anywhere around the barns when I'm lambing. So this is the Romney band, the natural color, and the white black factored ewes. Like I said, I keep them separate. So we start talking about what good is all this fiber. How do I market this? I realized early in my endeavor with the Romneys that working full-time, being a full-time mom too, that the fleeces accumulated a lot faster than I was able to utilize them. So we have developed a market for our fleeces. I'm going to switch you around so you, now that we've talked about the sheep, I get my little stand set up here so I don't go toppling. Hopefully none of the sheep. They did come over to meet me when I came out here, thinking that they were going to get some. I do some grain feeding on pasture, especially for example this summer when we were dry and I was having to, I was rotating heavier and I was pushing up against how normally I'd be hoping to be grazing this all the way through Thanksgiving without feeding hay, but with the drought situation, the grass didn't come back the way we were hoping, so having to start feeding hay a little bit earlier this season. So what do I do with all these with this Romney fiber? And I'm going to show you, like I said, the Romney standard, the ewe is going to shear, a standard is about 8 pounds, the ram we expect to shear about 12. My record on a big white Romney ram was a 22-pound fleece. And that's a lot of wool, so I'm lowering it down. I brought some samples out here so I wouldn't be trekking back and you guys would get dizzy watching me try to walk, because I can't walk steady by myself, much less be carrying a phone. So I have multiple different things. Let's see if we can get this set up so you can see. So the Romney is a long wool braid. The long wool means it's a long staple, and this is a natural color. This was a lamb that I sheared. This was a lamb. My hand is 3 inches across the palm, measured. So this lamb was sheared at 6 months of age, and she has a 4-inch staple. A 4-inch staple on this lamb. I have a white washed fleece here. And I'm hoping this is set up a white washed fleece. I sell fleeces to hand spinners and to fiber artists all over the country. This year, even though the fleece shows were shut down and I missed the Michigan State Fair and Michigan Fiber Festival and the fiber event in Washtenaw County Fairgrounds, I did sell fleeces through online fleece sales that have been, and so I sell as much as my raw fleeces as I can to fiber artists. This is a Romney ewe fleece, washed. Her fleece is 6 inches long. Her fleece is 6 inches long. That is pretty standard of a Romney fleece. And they have a wide variation in the Romney. When you talk about fineness, they have the standard, the micron count is from 29 up to 38. 37 or 38 is the acceptable breed standard, so you can go relatively fine down to 29. There's some individuals in the breed that will drop below that, especially lambs, and then up to this 37, 38. And they have nice open lock structure. With the Romney, when you have a nice open lock structure like this on the fleece, you can have a very nice silky handle to them. The Romney is, like many of the long wool breeds, are known for very bright, lustrous fleece. And then another color that we have is, I have a lot of silver sheep in my flock. This is another washed fleece. It's a little bit tangled from the washing process, but this is a light silver with some dark streaks through it. Here's another lock structure with the sun bleached tips. This is the silver sheep many times are born more of an iron gray. This one might silver out quite a bit as she gets older, and then you can see the dark fiber. Some fade quite a bit, but you can always look to see, and especially through the bridge in the lower side, you will see the black streaking. of the fleeces. So there's wide range of colors. We've got the silver, the white, and then we have the anywhere from a chocolate where it's black, almost like completely black except for the brown tips. So I've sold my fleeces, fiber festivals. I go to fleece shows, fleece competitions, and that is Miss Choo Choo behind her. She is a silver ewe, and her fleece, her kids and her grandkids have won. Her granddaughter won the Supreme Champion ewe at the Michigan Fiber Fest, and Supreme Champion fleece on foot. And then her son the previous year took Michigan born and bred fleece on foot. So I do compete with my fleeces. I do compete with my sheep to some extent, mostly because my son wanted to when he was in 4-H. So we have, I attend Michigan Fiber Fest wherever possible, but I'll also go across the Midwest. And I sell, in addition to raw fleeces, and this year I've sold fleeces from Florida to Maine, from Virginia to Alaska, Hawaii, California, Texas, Louisiana, South Dakota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Texas, New Mexico, and pretty much across the country. So I also sell, like I said, I do wash fleeces. There's some people who are daunted. The task of washing a huge Romney fleece of 12 pounds is more than they want to tackle. So I will sell wash fleeces to them in my booth. This year I'm trying to build, since all the fiber festivals are shut down, I'm working on I have a website up. I've had it up for a little bit, and then working a little bit on Etsy and Facebook sales. But I sell a lot of prepared fiber too. This is roving. This is a silver roving that I sell rovings, natural color, white rovings to fiber artists that want to use Romney. I also have a lot of fun with dyeing, a lot of fun dyeing. This is a basket. Romney is lustrous, picks up beautiful colors, and so it's a lot of fun. It picks up a lot of bright colors, and people like to use the Romney because the luster and the brightness you get to it. And this is the last batch of dye that it brought out. This was dyed with marigold flowers, very deep, intense. This was actually a silver sheep that I dyed into marigold. So the dyeing is a lot of fun. I like to play with it. And I have folks that do needle felting or use the dyed locks into other projects. One such project, this is it's a combination of woven, but mostly applied and hand felted, and some rug hooking done in here. This was a wall hanging. It was actually consigned for the best fleece at a fleece competition, and the consigner it was consigned for the champion fleece, the supreme fleece in the show, and it also is using some Romney. There's also some border luster, some other long wools in there too, but this was awarded to the Supreme Champion fleece in a fleece competition at the Hillsdale County Fair. But this is part of what the locks, you see, these are locks that are just washed fleece, and then an example of the dyed locks that folks will use. Another example of Romney wool. This is 100% Romney wool. This is a saddle blanket off of my farm, 100% from the farm. everything, the warp yarn they used to warp the loom is from my flock, Romney fleeces. Then the weft, it was yarn that I had custom done. And then I hand dyed all this. I hand dyed the yarn here on the farm, and then I had a friend at Breezy Manor weave the saddle blanket for me. And then the same friend also used Romney wool in the this rug. It's a little bit messy because I just picked it up off the floor, but this is it was weft was using roving from Romney's, and then some of the locks also include Romney. There's some Lincoln locks in here too, but there's also some Romney locks in this rug. But this is a floor rug that was hand woven. You can see the roving instead of yarn was used as the weft. But this is all made. This was made partly from Romney, from my flock. So I have a number of fiber artists that purchase my fleeces for their artwork, and then I actually traded a fleece for this rug, and I traded several fleeces for her to weave this, and then this actually she did this too and consigned for the consignment for the Champion. And then the sweater I'm wearing today is 100% off of my sheep. Like I said, in 1985, I saw the first Romney fleeces at the North American International Livestock Show that I had ever seen. Beautiful silver fleece, was a reserve champion fleece in the fleece competition down there, and I acquired a few fleeces while I was down there, and within 3 years I had some Romneys in myself. I hand dyed the sweater, and it was a combination from an old ewe I call Roly Poly. So this is 3L&S Farms. My little dog running around, Ivy, and the Romneys here at 3L&S Farms in South Central Michigan. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a better appreciation of what some of our wool here in that we produce in Michigan is now sitting happily in California, Georgia, New Mexico, Louisiana, Alaska, Hawaii, Maine, Virginia, Texas, like I said, New Mexico, Utah, South Dakota, and Montana. I just shipped 5 fleeces to Montana a couple weeks ago. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and enjoy some of the other videos about wool production and wool sheep here in Michigan. Thanks.